What's going on? Happy Purple Friday to you and yours. It is just after 4:30 in the late afternoon Eastern Standard Time on Friday the 26th. I'm Bobby Trosset. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. More on them and more on some of the perks that exist out there for Bobby Baltimoreans in just a bit. If you could on the way in, please like the video, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership, and go check out all the sponsors that make this channel go while you're at it, if you're interested in doing so. Here's the football content I got coming up this afternoon for you. Cam Newton gets personal. Those are his words. Let's get personal about some of the Ravens' shortcomings. He did exactly that. I'll share you his commentary in just a bit. I'll also react to the Week 4 final injury reports on both sides, meaning the Kansas City side and the Baltimore side. That'll be coming up. Keaton Mitchell also airs some frustrations to the Baltimore Sun about his playing time or lack thereof. There haven't been any playing time, spoiler alert. He's been inactive so far through the first 3 weeks, and given some of their inefficiencies, let's call it, or deficiencies when it comes to efficiency or lack thereof as a rushing attack back-to-back weeks, it begs the question, could Keaton at some point become part of the equation? All that and more is what I have coming up. Thank you guys for being with me. And of course, you already know what we're working our way towards. It's Week 4. It's desperation. It's not a must win for either one of these teams. But quite frankly, statistically speaking, as we've talked about all week long, it gets really hairy for whatever team drops to 1-3 after Sunday. Since the 1970 AFL-NFL merger, guys, oof. Just 11% of the teams to start 1-3 have gone on to make the postseason. And while the Ravens, and gosh, for Kansas City's sake too, since they've stared this kind of underwhelming start to the season in the face a couple times in recent years, I don't think it's out of the question to think that either one of these teams could overcome a 1-3 start. But do you want to have to overcome a 1-3 start? Hell no. Hell no, you don't. And this is a Kansas City team, as we discussed earlier this afternoon with Dane and Hughes, the Chiefs radio analysts, a former wide receiver in Kansas City, that looks really subpar. And that so far, as an offense, ranks in a lot of ways subpar. Overall, they're the 17th ranked group through 3 weeks. They're 17th on the ground. They're 15th through the air. They've been without Rashee Rice, who is suspended. They've been without Xavier Worthy, dealing with a shoulder. They're the 21st scoring team in overall offense, 14th on third down, 7th on fourth down, and 19th in the red zone. Luckily for them, the Ravens come in defensively as the worst ranked unit in all the league. Is it a little bit skewed through 3 weeks? Maybe. Is it a little bit skewed because of the competition, the degree of difficulty, having faced Detroit and Buffalo? Maybe. It is that time of year where you can't lean on these rankings too much. But we know there's a 10-game sample size from a year ago, and we know the Ravens are staring at some pretty significant challenges right now, both in terms of availability, perhaps with scheme, with a coordinator that doesn't have all the answers, and really a group that right now, the lone issue as to why there is, in the right-hand side of the column, a 2, and on the left-hand side, a 1. That's the 1-2 Baltimore Ravens, who go to Arrowhead where they have never won throughout the Lamar era. I don't need to tell you guys this, but just in case you needed a reminder so you understand the significance, Lamar is 1-5 against Patrick in the head-to-head. Look at the numbers. It's incomparable. It's night and day. This includes the playoffs, of course, the AFC Championship loss. Lamar's completion percentage dips to 57. Guys, he's career-wise, he's somewhere over 70 or somewhere in the 60s. 57% completion percentage Lamar dips down to in these 6 matchups with Mahomes. He's thrown 6 touchdowns to 3 picks and a total QBR of 55. Nobody's played them better, the Ravens and Lamar specifically, than the Kansas City Chiefs. And despite all that, they're saying and doing all the right things.
That we always see a dynamic quarterback with a lot of talent around him and a team that can run the football. They, when they're really good, and they have been all year long, they can dictate the game by being two-dimensional the whole game. And you have to worry about it on every snap. It doesn't matter what the down and distance is. They'll run it when you're supposed to throw it and throw it when you're supposed to run it, and they got guys that can do it.
I'm surprised Detroit was able to sack him a career-high 7 times. Anything you can use from that?
What just stood out to me just watching the game on TV was how relentless Detroit was. The effort that their pass rushers put in, I thought was really, really good, and they found ways to, eventually get them on the ground, which is not easy to do.
Steve Spagnuolo has had a lot of success against Lamar and the Ravens. I think we all understand that. And this is a Ravens team that is coming in depleted in a lot of ways. I'll get to the full injury report coming up in just a bit. Kansas City, I think there's a psychological advantage that's in play here, knowing that they've had Baltimore's number. You look up on the screen right now, and on the opposite side of Lamar, what Mahomes specifically himself has done against the Ravens in these 6 matchups. He's 5-1, a completion percentage of 73. 14-3 has been the touchdown to interception ratio, and a total QBR of 84. Look, you go back to the game week 1 of 2024, rematch of the AFC Championship game. You heard what Steve Spagnuolo said there, right? They play a game, meaning the Ravens, where they want to dictate the pace, the structure, and ultimately have complete control of the contest. And quite honestly, they did that successfully, all but winning the game in week 1 last year in Kansas City. They beat them on 3rd down. They were more efficient. The Ravens were on 3rd down, 7 for 14. They outgained Kansas City 452 to 353. They beat them in the time of possession game. They were heavily penalized that day, I'll tell you that. 7 for 64. You can remember some of the illegal formation bullshit that they were dealing with that night. I will get to the officiating side of this, by the way, in just a bit. But you see where I'm going. Steve Spagnuolo is correct. The Ravens want to dictate the pace and overall structure of the game, and they did so in week 1 last year and still lost. What they didn't do Monday night against the Detroit Lions, which was why it was so jarring, they didn't even come close to dictating the way that game was played. The Lions took it to the Ravens in every aspect, whether it was in the trenches, whether it was on 3rd and 4th down, whether it was ball security, whether it was effectively running the football, the play action passing game, rush lane integrity. Ravens got beat at their own game. Chris Canty said it best earlier this week. And even with reality, which is the Ravens' struggles, both past and maybe even present with Kansas City, you look around, if you're superstitious, just look away from the screen right now, and yet 9 of the 10 NFL Network panelists earlier this week picked the Ravens, a team that will be without several of its key defensive players. Bucky Brooks, the lone panelist, to go with Kansas City. That's the NFL Network side of things. What about ESPN? A little bit more balanced. Harry Douglas and Bart Scott. Of course, Bart, a former Raven, went with Baltimore. Schrager and Tannenbaum went with Kansas City. Why you probably clicked in, though, is Cam Newton. That's what this live stream is built off of. These comments from the former NFL quarterback, in his words, getting a little personal when it comes to some of the Ravens' shortcomings and how he sees it and how he calls it.
Cushion, right? When you compare the two, it's the conference that they're in, or the division that they're in, rather. And yes, the Chargers are looking damn good, but more or less the Broncos are too. Like, understand the loss that they had, or they've been very competitive in every single game that they've played.
Totally true.
You don't take, the Browns' offense as serious as their defense. Obviously, they have the number one defense now. You don't really know what you're going to get with Pittsburgh. So the Ravens can very well lose, not to say that they will or are, but they're in a better situation for longevity, for success in this league. But one thing that I would say about the Ravens, matter of fact, let's get personal. Will the real Baltimore Ravens please stand up? And while you're standing, please understand this. My challenge to you, can you play 60 minutes, not 58? We've seen what you did with 48. We've seen 60 minutes of good football that we know the paper says that you're supposed to play. It's been a sense of utopia, a fantasy, or something that you just say like, yo, they are supposed to be crushing every single team. And when are they going to put it together? It's a fumble. It's bad defense, bad communication. It's this, it's that, it's that, it's this. But figure it out.
Cam Newton, will the real Baltimore Ravens please stand up? Kyle Hamilton, as he shared yesterday during a media scrum, claimed that this is not who they are. Listen to this.
Every week in this league, and didn't do a good job last week, but we got another week this week in a big game, and it's a big opportunity for us. So sky's not falling, so we'll be all right. And I think we just need to attack this game. No, I don't think we need to change anything. I just think we need to do stuff better. Philosophy doesn't change. It's just a matter of guys getting the job done, and I think we'll do a better job of that this week. We're doing all the right things. It's just when game time comes, we need to put on tape. So I don't know. I feel like we've given ourselves the hardest path these past couple of years, and but we ended up in a good spot last year. So I feel like if we get it corrected even sooner this year, we'll be in a better spot. I don't think last game is who we are, and I think it hurts a little more when you come out like that and it's uncharacteristic, and it's not a communication thing. It's not like you messed up in the back end or got the front set the wrong way. It's just a matter of not being in the right spots and not winning your one-on-ones, and that's everybody included. So it's up to us to do that on a weekly basis, and you can't take it for granted. It's a week-to-week league, and you're getting best in the world every single week, so you got to reinvent yourself, but also keep things the same. Whatever criticism he's getting, I don't know. I feel like sometimes Ravens fans can be a little spoiled, just like the amount of success that this franchise has had. We lose 5 games and the world's about to end. I think on Zach, it's unfair to put all the blame on him when there's 11 guys out there on the field that are playing their hearts off, and he's put us in the right positions. It's just a matter of us doing the right stuff, and that's where I feel like the critiques of Zach or whatever coaches are unfair, because he can't go out there and play for us, and as much as he'd want to, he can't. So it's up to us to go out and get the job done. So it's not a Zach thing, it's not a coaching thing on the defensive side of the ball. It's just players got to get the stuff right. In coaching terms, he's mature beyond his years. And as a person too, but he's only been in it as a coach for, I don't know when he retired, but maybe 8-9 years, and he's been a position coach for most of those years, and to assume a position of Ravens defensive coordinator comes with a lot of responsibility, and I think he's handled it tremendously with grace, and I think he separates and protects us for the most part. He comes in the room, it's not like he's pointing fingers. It's, I could have had y'all in a better spot here, there, whatever it may be, and I think that kind of trickles down throughout the whole room because there's no hostility within it. That goes for the whole defense. And I think having a leader like that, you gain respect. Rookies come in saying that, realize the standard. And, we've been through the fire last year and we're going through it right now. So I don't think it's anything. I feel like Z always said the same thing. We're 1-2, we're not where we want to be, but it's a long year. And it's 14 more games. And hopefully we're looking back on our 1-2 start. Like, I can't believe everybody's making such a big deal about it. So props to him just getting the defense in the right spot mentally to go out and attack physically.
Kyle Hamilton, and we've had our conversation over and over again over the last 24 hours regarding the spoiled specific comments of that media scrum from yesterday. So I want to more so focus on him claiming, and this is what he has to say, obviously, as one of the defensive leaders, this is not who we are. That is what Kyle Hamilton is claiming about the current state of the Ravens, despite the facts. They're number 32 in yards per game. They're the number 32 ranked defense. Again, league-wide. Is it a little bit skewed, like I mentioned, this time of year, given the degree of difficulty and given the sample size? Yes, but still, it hasn't been good enough. And the fact that you're bottom of the barrel, it's not like you're middle of the road. It's not like you're in the 20s. You are dead last as a defensive unit that has an entire secondary of either former or current first-round picks. You've got all pros all over the place. Yes, you are banged up front right now, but this is far, far too talented. Right? The Ravens are far too talented defensively to be in this kind of statistical category, if you will, through the first few weeks. We all know what happened in the fourth quarter against Buffalo. All too familiar with that kind of collapse. They surrendered the most points through 3 weeks in franchise history, which dates back 30 years. And so I got to question whether or not I can believe that. Is this not who they are? We saw a lot of these types of shortcomings and deficiencies pop up through the first 10 weeks and in the postseason. Is this not who the Ravens are? I think it begs the question, because I think a lot of this is who they are. And it is still early in this season. And they do still have a ton of football in front of them left to be played. And a lot of this can be put to bed, at least for the time being, with a win on Sunday, which they're favored to do, by the way. They're 2.5-point road favorites at Arrowhead. But I also think that it's really fair to question who the Ravens are at this point, given some of the soul searching that clearly is happening internally. Warren Sharp, a friend of the show, Sharp Football. You know, he likes to follow some of the trends when it comes to officiating, looks for different advantages, disadvantages, in this case, perhaps, if you're a Ravens fan. But Clay Martin is the referee, the head official for Ravens Chiefs. And as he took a look over the time since 2020 where Clay Martin has officiated these two teams and their matchups, Kansas City is unbeaten at 6-0 when Clay and his crew work their games. For whatever it's worth, the Ravens 0-3. They have yet to win with Clay Martin official games. Warren says that he interviewed an NFL ref expert to discuss Martin's tendencies, specifically his third down offensive penalties and low DPI rate, and how they might impact the Kansas City/Baltimore outcome. Now, while admittedly I haven't had a chance to go watch that, I encourage you to if you're interested in doing so. But I'm certainly old enough to remember one of the wrinkles from week 1 in Kansas City last year when, for whatever reason, Ronnie Stanley and the Ravens seemed to be monitored in the whole legal formation guinea pig that they were that night. And it didn't seem as if that was balanced on the other side with Jawan Taylor and everybody for Kansas City's offensive line, who seemingly were doing the exact same infraction. So that will be something to watch. I don't know how much of a factor it will be. I'm never one to blame officiating. I like to analyze officiating like Warren is doing here. I never like to use it as the be-all, end-all when it comes to the blame game. Just something to watch as we get ready for this showdown at Arrowhead in Kansas City. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group, by the way. And how cool is it that Ravens tight end Mark Andrews, who, of course, just got on the board with his first touchdown of the year, which was a fantastic hookup with Lamar, by the way, right-hand corner of the end zone. He's partnering with the folks at Preston Automotive Group, who are the sole reason why I've been rolling around in my Bobby Baltimore Bronco the last couple of years. For every touchdown that he grabs this year, Preston and Mark will donate $890 towards finding a cure to type 1 diabetes. That's through the Breakthrough organization. Obviously, this is a cause near and dear to Mark Andrews' heart. Breakthrough T1D, type 1 diabetes. Preston Automotive Group is where you can follow along with what they have going on. They have a presence every year. And by the way, I want to make sure that I'm getting the language on this right in terms of what they're teaming up to do this year. So let me go ahead and do that very quickly. But Preston always has a presence at the Be More Around Town tailgates, where I was this past Sunday, and I should say Monday, for my pregame show. So this season, again, to raise money for type 1 diabetes and finding a cause and curing this disease, for every Mark Andrews touchdown, they're going to donate $890 to the Breakthrough T1D, type 1 diabetes organization. So good on Preston. Good on Mark and his team. And let me tell you more about what's going on at Preston Automotive Group. If you're looking for your next ride, would love for you to check them out. Whether you're locally in Baltimore or not, honestly. They got locations in Aberdeen, Randallstown, all across Delmarva. They've got the selection and the deals to get you on the road today. Got over 2,000 vehicles to choose from. Home delivery is available for those of you out of state. And exclusive offers just for my subscribers. All those exist for you. $500 off a new or pre-owned vehicle if you let them know that I sent you. And if you buy 4 tires, they'll give you 50% off your alignment in any one of their dealerships. Cars cost less with Preston. And whether you're in Baltimore, Aberdeen, Randallstown, or anywhere on the shore, there's a Preston dealership ready to take care of you. Ford, Hyundai, Nissan, Mazda, and more. Whatever you're looking for, Preston has a location near you. You can visit PrestonMotor.com and start shopping today. You can follow them on Instagram for a lot of our giveaways that we tend to do with them. Wildlife Wale over Inside the Vault just emailed us earlier this week. His personalized Kyle Hamilton signed jersey came in, which was pretty cool, and that was all thanks to Preston. And if you go to the link that's in my show notes, again, PrestonMotor.com, you can easily contact them to get started today. You have all my social links right here. Over 3,400 currently in this overall inventory. And you can break things down to make it easier for your search process too, by price, vehicle condition, year, make, location, all these different locations throughout the DMV, whether it be Aberdeen, Dover, Delaware, Hurlock, Maryland, Keller, Virginia. They're all over the place. My home spot is Randallstown, Maryland when I'm in town. They do great work. All your dealership locations are attached here as well for those of you that aren't familiar with the area. Body style, color, fuel type, so on and so forth. Appreciate Preston. You can scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner if you're interested in learning more. And again, I commend them for the support that they're doing with Breakthrough, the support they're giving Breakthrough, and their continued partnership with Mark Andrews. Hopefully more touchdowns. I'm in the middle of a read. You haven't eaten in 48 hours because I go to Baltimore to go work the Monday Night Football game, and you're a rescue, and you're amazing, and I love you so much. But for the 48 hours you go, you don't eat 1 ounce of kibble so that when I come back, because of how dependent you are, then you start devouring your food. It offsets your entire bowels, and now you're having diarrhea for the last couple of days. She's staring at me as I'm lecturing her right now in front of 400 plus people. Why do you do that? Why do you do that? I love that little girl, but God, does she drive me nuts when it comes to that shit. Manny says attitude and ownership reflects leadership, Harbs. Talking about the main man himself, John Harbaugh, whose seat continues to get hotter and hotter. Jeff Zarebek just noting a short while ago that the Ravens brought in a guard by the name of Kenyon Green for a tryout. He's a former first-round pick of the Houston Texans. So some shuffling around this week when it comes to roster construction and practice squad construction. A guard by the name of Kenyon Green has came in to Baltimore for a tryout. That's what Jeff Zarebek's just noted here. He's a former first-round pick of Houston. And obviously, you know that Taven Bryan was brought in, a defensive tackle this week, former first-round pick of Jacksonville back in 2018. And Taven is available for a reason. He's on the Ravens practice squad now. We'll see if they call him up, knowing that Nnamdi Madubuike will miss his second consecutive game. And they brought up Josh Tupou as well, or I should say they signed him to the practice squad. So we'll get to the overall injury reports in just a bit here. Here is Charles Omenihu, defensive end for the Kansas City Chiefs, on how he plans to defend Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry.
Said, here come the Ravens. They've scored 111 points in 3 games. When you have a running quarterback who's elite like Lamar Jackson, and then you get Derrick Henry in the RPO or quarterback run game by design, what are your responsibilities and the defensive as a whole slowing these guys down?
Yeah, I think with Derrick Henry, I think it starts off with just kind of cutting his legs off. I think he's a guy, once he does get going, he's tougher. But I think when you muddy up the running lanes, great running back, but it's kind of difficult for him to get going if he doesn't have a clear lane. That's kind of been his thing. So you muddy up the running lanes, and when he does kind of get a little bit of escape, knock his legs out. With Lamar, I think you just got to harass him, make it uncomfortable for him. I think he's another guy that you want to get to his legs because he's so just shifty up top. So you cut all that off, and I think you have a better opportunity of stopping those two.
Talented defensive end for the Chiefs, Charles Omenihu. Some numbers from week 1. Again, I already kind of mentioned some of the statistical trends and categories from the opener, which was a rematch of the AFC Championship a year ago on Thursday night in Kansas City. But Lamar threw it 41 times, completed 26 of those 41 attempts in week 1 last year, 273 yards attached to that. A touchdown, no interceptions. He was sacked 6 times. Did Omenihu get him once? Why do I feel like he did in that one? Did Omenihu get to him in one of those games? I don't believe he did, actually, based on what I'm looking at in the box score. Yeah, I don't think he popped up on that one. He may not even have played in that one, to be honest with you. But anyway, I'll continue. A quarterback rating of 90.8. On the ground, Lamar was the leading rusher. And so I think Omenihu, even if he didn't play in that game, obviously is looking back at that week 1 performance to see where they went wrong. Lamar had 16 carries for 122 yards, a long of 16, an average of 7.6 per tote. And obviously, we all remember what transpired in the AFC Championship game. I just felt like maybe even some of that indecisiveness, some of that hesitancy that we watched on Monday night against Detroit. And you got to credit their game plan, I think, for maybe leading to some of that Lamar discomfort. We saw somewhat of a tentative, hesitant Lamar in the AFC Championship game. Like, hey, tuck it and run. Hey, flush out of the pocket and go make something happen. Now, it later came out that maybe he wasn't fully healthy then. We think he's fully healthy. I guess we don't know right now, but he certainly didn't take as many lanes as we're accustomed to him either seeing or creating himself on Monday night in Detroit. And as a result, for the second consecutive week, an opponent had success, as Cleveland did the week prior, keeping the Ravens under 100 rushing yards, which had not happened in back-to-back games since Lamar took over for Flacco back in week 11 of 2018. So this is a group that has traditionally had a lot of success against not only the Ravens, but Lamar himself. That said, Lamar got his in week 1 last year, and it still wasn't enough. Kansas City went on to win that 27-20. Chris Jones had himself a game, as he always seems to do. 3 tackles, one of which was solo, a sack, a tackle for loss. Number 95 is always a problem. You try and take him out of the game, and he's really difficult to stymie. Here he is. I'm going up against Lamar, Derrick, and this Ravens offensive attack.
You see on film, fast, explosive. Any play in the game, he can change the dynamic of it. So, with him, it's always tough to play against Lamar and the Baltimore Ravens. Stopping Lamar is one thing, trying to contain him is another. And over the years, you look how prolific as a passer he's become. I think he's completing 70% of his assists. You should have so much respect for him. Derrick Henry is the same as Lamar. Change the dynamic of the game at any point in the game. You got to make sure that not only one person, when he has the ball, not only one person bringing him down. Make sure we crowding around him, grabbing him, clawing him, whatever we got to do to get him down there. I mean, you can take it both ways. You know, it's not often Lamar is easily sacked 7 times. You know, when I heard that stat line, I was like, "What? That's crazy," because the Ravens mostly run the ball. Yeah, but Lamar can pass the ball too, so you know it's the dynamic of the game. I guess they went down and try to get back in the game and throwing the ball. So I get it. It happens. It's not often, but it happens. You know, Derrick Henry is one of the best running backs in the league, fumbles or not, and I think that's new territory for him because you look over the years, he's not a big fumbler. So I'm quite sure he's working on it this week and the next few weeks to make sure he has the ball high and tight. But it's also an opportunity for us to somebody grab him first, 2 people grab him first, and let's try to get the ball.
You heard it from Amenihue. You heard it from Detroit. You heard it from Chris Jones there. It's about plastering Lamar. It's about taking away these playmakers' legs within the confines of the rules in the game, obviously. And with Derrick Henry, if he starts getting north and south, good night. Lamar doesn't matter, east, west, north, south, whatever. The guy's going to find a way to take care of you and make you look stupid. With Derrick, you much prefer east-west. You much prefer him going laterally, right? Because if you close off those north and south lanes, then you got a chance. If they're open and all of a sudden Derrick picks up a head of steam and he finds those lanes, good night. Good night. So where do the Ravens stand with overall health? That's obviously been a major point of contention in recent days, knowing just how banged up they are defensively and knowing how piss poor they've been statistically as a defense. Well, some good news and bad news as you take a look at this from within the hour. Ravens made their final injury report, noted heel. And I guess I just lose the ability to speak English on 5 o'clock on a Friday. Their final injury report has been sent out and released, and here it is. Travis Jones has been upgraded the last 2 days to limited after a DNP Wednesday with the knee. Was not available late in that fourth quarter on Monday night. He has been listed as questionable. Somebody that commands double teams, somebody that clogged up the middle. He's a run stuffer specialist. He has had his fair share of struggles, as most defensive players in Baltimore have, through really 2 of 3 weeks. But he's somebody that is going to be vital to stymieing what's been a pretty underwhelming rushing attack so far from Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes is their leading rusher, not Pacheco, not Kareem Hunt. So watch to see Travis and monitor that as game day approaches on Sunday because they desperately need him. Isaiah Likely was, for the first time, upgraded to a full participant. Sure looks like his season debut could be on deck. That's great news. They're going to need every part of Isaiah Likely because with the continued absence of Pat Ricard, who was a DNP with a calf, ominous. Optics are not great around this at all. And you see it here. He has been ruled out for the 4th consecutive week to start this season. John Harbaugh gave very little information in terms of where he's at in his rehab process. And at some point here, it's going to start to catch up to this offense without number 42 out there. Nnamdi Madubuike will miss a 2nd consecutive week with a neck. Speaking of ominous, this is ominous epitomized. The fact that there is little to no context or clarity on where Nnamdi sits. John Harbaugh also tight-lipped on that today. Big 92 was off to a stellar start. Double-digit pressures through the first 2 weeks. A couple sacks to go along with those. And this interior part of Baltimore's defense is vulnerable without him in the middle of it. Ronnie Stanley, luckily, was upgraded to limited after missing Wednesday and Thursday of this week with an ankle. And of course, that begs the question, is it the surgically repaired ankle from years ago that derailed his career, almost permanently derailed his career if it weren't for his resilience? John Harbaugh was optimistic during his press conference earlier this afternoon, so hopefully that means only good things for Ronnie because they're going to need him. If he can't go, expect Joseph Noteboom, the swing tackle they brought in free agency, to sub in there. I don't think they would move Roger Rosengarten over to the left-hand side from his right tackle duties. But that is a positive sign for Ronnie. He is a veteran, so hopefully they're just being cautious with him and that surgically repaired ankle. He's questionable, as is Kyle Van Noy, upgraded from his DNP status that was attached to his name Wednesday and Thursday of this week. He's limited with a hamstring. Could potentially miss another game. But as a veteran, hopefully this just means they're entrusting him and that he can be good to go. They need as much of an edge presence as they can get. Broderick Washington, another loss for the interior part of Zach Orr's defensive line. He's dealing with an ankle. He was a DNP all week, and as a result, he has been ruled out. So Nnamdi Madubuike and Broderick Washington are guaranteed to not be out there to try and stop this Chiefs rushing attack and get after it in the trenches. Travis Jones is questionable, and Kyle Van Noy is questionable. We'll see if Brent Urban gets called up for the second straight week, given some of their depth problems up and down the defensive line, and we'll see what they do with these new practice squad signees in Taven Bryan and Josh Tupou. Not a great injury report from a Ravens perspective, especially when you look on the opposite side and Kansas City's looking clean aside from the suspension that continues for Rashee Rice, who torched them, by the way, last year. I think we all remember the success that both Rashee and Xavier Worthy had. They combined for over 150 receiving yards last year in week 1 against the Ravens and 9 total receptions and a touchdown from Worthy. Rashee had 7 for $103, 9 targets. Worthy, 2 for 47 and a touchdown. I believe he had some trickery too that went down as a carry, 1 for 21. Was that some misdirection stuff, I want to say? Some jet sweep stuff? Well, I can't remember the specific play, but it was a positive yardage. He had 2 touchdowns, matter of fact, Xavier Worthy did, if memory serves. So Worthy is back, as you can see here. He is trending towards playing, and Andy Reid said as much. He is off the injury report. He will play. And Patrick Mahomes, he was listed with a right wrist injury this week. He, too, is good to go. So Kansas City's in good shape overall health-wise. The Ravens, anything but, quite frankly. Here's Mahomes himself talking about the Ravens earlier this week.
We want to be balanced. I mean, I think every team in the NFL does, and I thought this last week we did a better job of running the ball, and I thought the offensive line did a good job of doing the run blocking together and the chemistry building between them. And I know that you saw Monday night at the Ravens, but they're a prideful group, man. I don't think they're going to be very happy with the film, and they're going to come out with the mentality of stopping the run. So it'll be a great test for us. And so it'll be able to go up there and be able to run the football and then be able to pass off of it will be important to us. Stay balanced and go up against a team that's going to be as hungry as we are. So it'll be a great football game this weekend.
Yeah, they can't be happy watching the tape this week. I sure wouldn't be. How can you be coming off of Monday night? But as they always say, it's got to be a flush job. Flush it 24 hours, 48 hours, whatever. It's a short week. You go to Arrowhead. I would say nobody's expecting you to win, but that's actually not true because Vegas is expecting the Ravens to win. They're 2.5-point favorites. And let's take a look if that line has changed whatsoever, courtesy of Prophet X, one of my newest sponsors this football season. It's America's #1 sports prediction market. And if you sign up right now at ProfitX.co and you use the promo code that you see on the screen, Bobby B, you'll get up to $200 in profit cash on all your plays for the first 30 days. Again, that is ProfitX.co. You're going to get better odds than traditional sports books. You're playing against others, not the house. And so you can request your own odds. Play with confidence, get super fast payouts straight to your bank, card, or even crypto. It's available in over 40 plus states. I've told you about that the last couple weeks. And if you click on, I actually don't have a link, but if you go to ProfitX.co, it'll take you to this site right here. And I'll bring it up on screen so we can take a look at this game. By the way, what's up with the Americans getting clapped in the Ryder Cup? You had the president there at Bethpage. That place was rolling. It was like a raucous college football environment, and yet the Americans have come out totally flat. Team Europe rolling right now. Minnesota and Pittsburgh. Isn't this game in Dublin, I feel like? It's in somewhere in Ireland, I want to say. I think it's in Dublin. Anyway, Vikings and Steelers. We'll see what Pittsburgh can do against the high-flying, I was going to say quarterback less, but they're not. Is Carson Wentz starting in that game again? I haven't even looked at it. Anyway, let's go down and take a look at this 425 game between the Ravens and Chiefs. Is it still at 2.5? Yes, it is. Over-under set at 48. Guys, I gave my prediction on the vault earlier today. Be curious to hear what yours is and what yours are. I went 30-24. I just don't trust the Ravens defense. A bunch of first half player props, touchdown scores. Could Devontae keep his stellar season, albeit a small sample size when it comes to the target share? Could he keep that going? God, is he speedy? They need that speed. Counter Kansas City's speed that they'll inevitably tap into with Xavier Worthy being back out there. Counter that with what you have. How about some misdirection from Zay Flowers, whether it be eye candy or potential jet sweeps? How about get Justice Hill back involved in the screen game? How about some quick game? If they try to mirror what Detroit did successfully on Monday night with the containment of Lamar Jackson, get the ball out of Lamar's hands quickly. Kill him with the intermediate passing attack that you have. You know you have it in your arsenal. It doesn't matter. You could do a bunch of 12 personnel knowing that will likely return to this game. Get those 2 tight end sets going. I know Pat Ricard's not going to be out there. You can't have that much success with your heavy personnel, or as much success as you want with Pat Ricard down for the foreseeable future. But get the quick game going. Win the trenches. Exert your will, become the more desperate team, and get the job done. I can preach all I want. It's another thing to actually believe what it is that I'm attempting to preach. And I just don't believe in this Ravens defense. I don't know who they are. I can't quite believe, as much as I want to, what Kyle Hamilton is saying, that this is not who they are. I can't quite believe that after a 20 missed tackle performance, after getting manhandled in the trenches. I get it. Detroit, formidable group, and probably have a darn good chance to come out of the NFC as that conference is representative to go to Santa Clara come February. But I can't quite get behind the idea that this isn't who they are. Hopefully they prove me wrong. Keaton Mitchell is trying to prove this coaching staff wrong, because Keaton Mitchell has been inactive so far through the first 3 weeks of this season. Sam Cohn covers the Ravens and Baltimore sports for the Sun, and he had a chance to catch up with the former undrafted rookie. And Keaton responded in terms of whether he was frustrated or not about his lack of playing time with a hell yeah. Hell yeah, I'm frustrated. John Harbaugh earlier this week, he addressed it, as he has a couple times now, in a press conference setting, saying that he just does not have the spot right now from a special teams perspective. Keaton will be 2 years from a very serious ACL tear, meaning 2 years removed from an ACL tear. He clocked over 20 miles per hour again, as he told us back in April, and told us rather emphatically during our draft coverage that this year was going to be a movie. I don't think he enjoys the plot right now of this movie because he ain't in it. Will the Ravens at some point be in a position without Pat Ricard having posted back-to-back games, sub 100 rushing yards for the first time since Lamar took over in 2018? Will they be forced into a position where they got to go call on 34? Justice Hill has struggled at times this year, both as a blitz pick-upper, ball security, and overall production. Rasheen Ali has shown some pop, as he did in preseason. as the primary kickoff return specialist. But the more and more that Chris Horton and other members of this team are asked about Keaton Mitchell, the more and more they reiterate what we keep hearing. Rasheen's got the leg up on him in special teams. Bo Smolka, who covers the Ravens for Press Box, said as much. It's multiple special teams roles, including gunner, that Rasheen Ali and others are ahead of Keaton Mitchell, at least in terms of the way the Ravens factor him in and the way they have him evaluated from a special teams perspective. Bo notes that Justice is viewed as the best pass blocker within the room. RB3, which is occupied by Rasheen right now, plays few, if any, running back snaps, as we all know, but probably 18 to 25 special team snaps. He played 21 against the Bills, 18 against Detroit. And quite simply, as Bo summarizes here, they view Ali as the better option for more plays. Is he the best option right now for what they have as a rushing attack unit? Meaning, could some of the misdirection, the speed, the screen game, the eye candy presence that Keaton Mitchell would bring to the table, would that serve them well right now? I think it's a fair question to ask. Do I think that there's bigger issues right now? Absolutely. It's the number one scoring offense in the entire league. So, like, I know when this has been brought up in the past, I've kind of pushed back a little bit as if to downplay. I don't mean to intentionally, but I do downplay this topic or this debate because of the other issues that are clearly fracturing this team right now and holding them back on the other side of the football. Because the run defense has been porous. The tackling technique has been horrendous. And the trenches warfare has not been won consistently. It's not a recipe for success. And they don't take the ball away. That right there is a recipe for, a 1-2 record, but that's a recipe for one and done in the playoffs. The days of stressing the importance of winning this division feel like they're somewhat behind us because of how non-competitive this division is right now. Joe Burrow will be down until at least September. Pittsburgh's in a world of hurt. Do I even need to attach any kind of description for Cleveland right now? They're going nowhere fast, and already, yet again, another week, somehow Shedeur Sanders has come up in the news cycle because that's what's happening in Cleveland, and he is waiting in the wings. And I would imagine at some point soon they're going to have to turn to Dylan Gabriel to get a legitimate regular season evaluation on their third-round pick. And if that goes south, then obviously Shedeur, I'm sure, will get a chance as well. And who knows? Knowing Cleveland, if they're out of mathematical postseason contention, then shit. Why not put both those guys in there? Who knows? Maybe one get a half, you get a half, and you get a half, and you get a half. Who knows what the Browns choose to do? But this is the latest when it comes to what the Ravens have planned, at least right now, in the here and now, for their former undrafted rookie, the lightning strike that is Keaton Mitchell. God, I hope for his sake that he gets an opportunity. He is so fun to watch, and he brings a new element of explosiveness, speed, twitchiness, and everything and more to this Ravens offense. Guest lines are open. Manny's been waiting. What do you guys want to talk about today? Please like the video if you could on the way in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. I'm pinning this comment. The guest lines are officially open. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support. Would love for you guys to follow them on Instagram. As you can see, I have that as a pinned comment, or at least I did up until seconds ago, and I replaced it with the guest line call-in access link. Talk to me, Mr. Mexico. Are you calmed down after yesterday's emotions?
Kinda. Well, let's just put it kinda, because I think until we see the change, I mean, we can say that, hey, we beat Kansas City. Okay, how did we beat Kansas City? Was it our gameplay, or did Kansas City just shoot himself in the foot? Because there's a difference right now. And the 1 and 2, let me just turn off the notifications over here.
Guys getting Hinge it must be Hinge.
Nah, it's not Hinge. It's work related, but
oh boy.
Yeah. So yeah, it's how, if we win this game, it's how did we win it? Did we win it by doing our effort? Was it Kansas City imploding? Was it maybe a combination of both? We don't know. We gotta wait and see. The way that the Nambi news is going, I wouldn't count on Nambi returning this season. Like, if I'm the team, if I'm EDC, I'm making calls and I'm counting Namdi out of the season, because the way it's looking like Zach Orr's injury. I know Zach Orr's it's a childhood thing, but even that type of thing, if you start feeling fuzzy and try to fight it and then keep hitting, call it a season.
That would be catastrophic. We don't have anything to suggest that, to be clear, other than these ominous signs. The optics are not great. We've talked about it all week long. Namdi's been ruled out for the second consecutive week, and this really popped up randomly a couple weeks ago when he missed a Wednesday or a Thursday practice, I think it was, and it's concerning. This is a player that obviously had a monster 2023, went on to get paid and paid handsomely, deservingly so, and then obviously had in terms of sack production, a quiet downtick year. I think it was 5.5 or 6.5, one of those two last year. But look at the amount of times that opposing offenses quite literally said, paraphrasing, we refuse to be beat by this guy. Let's double team the shit out of him. Let's throw all kinds of stunts his way. Let's make sure that we game plan to be beaten by anybody other than Nnamdi Madubuike. And I think that's the ultimate compliment of what a player can do defensively. So highly concerning for sure. We got to wait and see. John Harbaugh wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole during today's press conference, which only leads to more uncertainty and pessimism around the situation. So in the meantime, I expect several guys to be called up from the practice squad. You hope that Travis Jones can go. He's listed as questionable, as you guys can see right here. And hopefully Kyle Van Noy can give whatever he is willing to give or able to give at this point, knowing that he's nursing a hamstring. So final thought from you on the way out, brother.
Final thought. Well, I want to see them like Cam Newton. Will the real Ravens stand up? Like, will the real dogs of the Ravens stand up? Will John Harbaugh stop being John Harbaugh and be more than John Harbaugh? Because I think that's what we want. Is like, if you're not calling for his job, we're just, hey, get out of your ways. If you really want to win, you will find other ways to win besides your way. Because when you're trying to do that, it's no bueno, as we call it. And, just a quick note, because you touched on the QBs, I'm waiting on Jackson Dart to start. He literally is the future of the Giants. It's not Russell Wilson. He literally is the future. Like, you can see it every time the Giants put in Jackson Dart. Like, the players react very differently.
I cannot wait to watch that game. Is it in the 1:00 window this week?
Yes.
Perfect, because I really want to watch Jackson. It'll probably only be a quarter because I think I'm going to start my pregame show at 2:00. Oh, and if Richard is out there, if Asmodeus is watching, and maybe you'll even be interested in this too, Mr. Mexico. But how about this? Charm City Spirits, it's over in my kitchen, but they sent the bourbon whiskey bottle and the vodka bottle for the 30th year anniversary. And then Richard sent in a super chat and was like, hey, would you do a giveaway? So I reached out to them, and on Sunday, we will be giving away each one of those, a bourbon whiskey and I think just like a general vodka in honor of the anniversary. And I look forward to randomly giving that away coming up on Sunday's pregame show. So that's what's coming up. Manny, appreciate you, brother. Catch up with you soon.
All right. See you soon. See you in Miami.
I will see your ass in Miami. I'm actually working on accommodations right now to hopefully get there because it's Halloween weekend. It's Thursday night in Miami. I mean, come on. If anybody has, by the way, recommendations on places to stay that I could potentially work with, what I do a lot of times during these trips is reach out to different hotels, whether they're resorts or boutique hotels or whatever. And I end up putting like a partnership together. So if you guys have any recommendations for Miami, I am trying to get there coming up next month, about a month from now, when the Ravens and Dolphins play on Thursday Night Football. All right, Judah, travel safely. Make sure you promise me that. Everybody in the live chat's going to make sure that I say that. We bring you in. What's going on, brother? I'm sure you got a lot to say this week.
Oh, man, you know it. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, man. So I'm gonna try to get through this real quick, bro. So that was very disappointing. Needless to say, I saw a lot of stuff that we've been seeing for years now that disappointed me. Before I get to the obvious, I want to point out some things that people are not looking at. We had Tez Walker in early in the game. Now, mind you, I want to preface by saying that they couldn't stop any one of our receivers this game. Bateman, whether it was Hopkins or Walker, the passing game seemed like that would have been the way to go if anybody was paying attention, because anytime Lamar dropped back the pass, we did whatever we wanted to do. But more so, Walker caught one pass for about 30 yards, right? 30 yards, put him in the red zone, and we never saw him again. So I think that was like a microcosm of the big. Microcosm of the big picture is that the passing game was working, but we were too stubborn to do what worked. We kept trying to go with the run. That wasn't working too well at all. At no point did we look dominant running the ball, but what we did do well was pass the ball, and we went away from it early. And that was one thing I didn't like. Of course, we didn't stop the run. That doesn't need to be talked about. John Harbaugh going for it on fourth down in the second quarter. Now, I've had this argument with Ravens fans for years about going for it on fourth down. I'm not conservative to a fault. I'm not one of those type of people, but I am a person that believes that if your team works hard to get you on the 1 yard line, is it disappointing that you didn't get 3? Yes. It's even more disappointing if you're on the 1 yard line and you get nothing. I'm tired of us getting inside the red zone a lot of times on the 1 yard line, 2 yard line, and leaving with nothing. As somebody who played football, that is demoralizing to a team. You think that it deflates them not to get the touchdown. It deflates them even more when they work that hard. They're sore, they're out of breath, and they have nothing to show for it. So with that being said, that was the biggest things I noticed about that game. Todd Monken is calling plays like he's never called offense before. It's not now. He's not the worst part of this. His offense his play calling isn't so bad that's the reason why we lost. But I think that play calling on fourth down, a lot of people look back and say, well, that's not that bad. First of all, we weren't down by that many points. At that time, they didn't prove that they can stop us from moving the ball. There was no reason for you to get desperate in the second quarter and go for it on fourth down and not get any points. I think that's a momentum shifter. You lose momentum when you do things like that. It changes the play calling for both teams. You know what I mean? As far as defense go, Zach Orr is not putting us in a position to win, because if we can't stop the run, what you can't do is not be able to stop the run and not get pressure on the quarterback, because not once did I see him dial up any type of blitzes to create pressure. You stayed in soft zones. You didn't create pressure for Jared Goff. So not only could we not stop them from running the ball, you weren't even putting pressure on Goff to make throwing the ball challenging. And I understand people will say that he can find the open man with the blitz. I'd rather you dink and dunk down the field for 5 yards than to gash us for 15 and 20 yards of play like he was doing. And I don't want to take up too much time, but I would like for your some feedback on that.
I'm sorry. I don't mean to laugh. I don't think you took one breath to last like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm just trying not to laugh over here, but a lot of astute points. Look, what's crazy about this is you haven't heard much of a rant this week about the offense. Of course, Derrick Henry, big culprit, 3 fumbles is very uncharacteristic, a surprise to say the very least. I think it's the most likely shortcoming that can be overcome and fixed overnight, right?
Right.
But the fact that you just went on that beautiful rant and the majority of it was from an offensive critique perspective, I find that interesting, because to me, that's actually the least of their problems right now.
Yeah. But I did think that because usually when I critique an offense, I'm putting it more not so much the players, but the coaching, because again, I saw early that if it was one place that we could have hurt the Lions, it was in the pass game. And we went away from it way too early because they did nothing to prove they can stop any one of our receivers. None of our receivers struggled to get open or catch passes. None of them.
Including DeAndre Hopkins, who interesting back and forth with him and Terrion Arnold, one of the DBs for Detroit. DeAndre certainly had his number at least a couple times. But yeah, I appreciate that perspective because there's been a lot of noise this week, obviously, about Zach Orr's side of the football, deservedly so. But obviously they were imperfect that night despite scoring, 30 points the way that they did. And they are the number one scoring offense through 3 weeks, which you obviously have to take a part of the equation, especially with no Pat Ricard. And Judah, I think, honestly, the continued absence with no clarity around it whatsoever for Pat Ricard, I think, is starting to grow and more significant as the weeks go on. So thanks for your perspective, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, man.
And travel safe out there. That was electric to be driving what looks to be a tractor trailer, a semi, whatever the hell he's driving, and to be that dialed in on offensive critique is absolutely exceptional. That was electric. And I just couldn't help but laugh at the end there because he just was on one. Guest lines are alive and well on this Friday. I appreciate you guys for being with me. If you could like the video on your way in or out, subscribe, hit that notification bell, consider becoming a channel member or gift-giving membership. I'll get to super chats as they come in. I'd appreciate it. D-Rod is in the house. Will, I just saw you here. I was trying to go chronological order in terms of how you came into the waiting room. So, Will, if you want to pop back on, I'm happy to bring you on. But in the meantime, D-Rod and Julian, it has been too long. My guy, what's going on? Daniel Rodriguez in the house.
I can't hear anything. Hold on.
Vault snapback. You come in and you come out because I don't think you can hear. That means Jules up there. Where the hell is your snapback, huh?
Guys, it's always on my head.
I'm talking about the vaultpod.com/shop. Let's get you one of those.
Well, I will get me some merch. Trust and believe that. It's just money has been kind of tight.
Matter of fact, you know what? Fuck it. Send me your shipping address after this call. All right?
You got it.
All right.
You got it.
Talk to me, brother.
I'll hit you up on Instagram. Well, I was kind of late joining in because I didn't really I was out, handling my business with my nephews and all that, but I didn't really hear exactly what Cam Newton, what his comments were.
Well, here then. Here, hold on.
Yeah. So
I got you.
So I'll give you my reaction.
First take, Cam Newton getting a little personal right here.
Okay.
Have cushion, right? When you compare the two, it's the conference that they're in, or the division that they're in, rather. And yes, the Chargers are looking damn good, but more or less the Broncos are too. Like, understand the loss that they had, or they've been very competitive in every single game that they've played.
Totally true.
You don't take, the Browns' offense as serious as their defense. Obviously, they have the number one defense now. You don't really know what you're going to get with Pittsburgh. So the Ravens can very well lose, not to say that they will or are, but they're in a better situation for longevity, for success in this league. But one thing that I would say about the Ravens, matter of fact, let's get personal. Will the real Baltimore Ravens please stand up? And while you're standing, please understand this. My challenge to you, can you play 60 minutes, not 58? We've seen what you did with 48. We've seen 60 minutes of good football that we know the paper says that you're supposed to play. It's been a sense of utopia, a fantasy, or something that you just say like, yo, they are supposed to be crushing every single team. And when are they going to put it together? It's a fumble. It's bad defense, bad communication. It's this, it's that, it's that, it's this. But figure it out.
Figure it out. Cam Newton, ESPN earlier today, right? Claiming or just stating, will the Baltimore Ravens, meaning the real Baltimore Ravens, please stand up? And that makes me think of what Kyle Hamilton said yesterday, which is that this, what you see on the screen, is not who we are. I beg to differ through 3 weeks. It's obviously what he has to say as a leader. But this, what you're seeing up on the screen, is who they are. They are the worst ranked defense in the entire league overall. They're number 32 in yards per game, 31 in points per game. They allowed 15. Obviously, we all know what happened in the fourth quarter, coughing up the double-digit lead to Buffalo. They've surrendered the most points through 3 weeks in franchise history, and they're reeling right now from an availability standpoint. So, Joel, is this who they are?
Until they change the narrative that has been put on them. Unfortunately, that's what it is. And they lost trust with the fan base.
Well, wait a second now. What do you mean the narrative's been put on them? Didn't they place it on themselves?
Yeah, that's the narrative that they put on themselves. They have put that on themselves by the way they played. The expectations were coming into the season were obviously all the talk were they are Super Bowl favorites, best roster in the league besides the Eagles, all that hype around them. And maybe and maybe not it had gotten to their heads a little bit. I don't want to say it did or not, but it had a little bit to do with it judging by the comments that we've seen this week, obviously, with, Kyle Hampton and all that. But until they change the narrative, and it starts with Kansas City, I don't want to say it does, but at the same time, right now, this is where they are right now. It starts in Kansas City. Changing that narrative, dropping them to 1-3, or if they don't, change anything going into that game, or if they come out and just be who they were against the Detroit Lions, then they're going to be sitting at 1-3 at this point. And we're going to be just having questions about who's getting fired, who's, getting let go. The rumblings is going to be even worse. So it's up to them to change that narrative. And like I said, they lost trust with the fan base, and so they don't believe that they're going to go into Kansas. Some of them I talked to this week have zero confidence that a win in Kansas City is going to happen this week. I wouldn't say it's not possible, judging by the way Kansas City has played, but it's Kansas City. Like, come on now. We've seen how they play. We see how they figure it out. They have that championship mentality, and we do not have that right now. So 60 minutes, like Cam Newton said, it comes down to that. And if they don't play 60 minutes football, then they're going to lose. It's just straight like that.
Appreciate the call, brother. Great seeing you. Hit me up. DM me. Guest lines are open, guys. D-Rod, let's try it again, shall we? Mr. Connectivity over there. I want to show off that snapback. Look at that boy right there looking clean with the vaultpod.com/shop. It's good to see you, brother.
What up, Bobby? You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm at my kid soccer game, so I had to sneak off a little bit real quick.
Hey, I'm going to ask you the same exact question that I've been asking a few people now, because you heard what Cam Newton had to say. You heard what Kyle Hamilton had to say. And it begs the question, is this who they are? Meaning as a defense, is this who they are?
I think so, man. Like, we already got a sample size. It's been the same thing for a couple of years now. And my whole thing is, why isn't Zach Orr blitzing? Like, if our D-line isn't getting to the quarterback, why not switch it up? Put Kyle closer to the line. Send some blitz, send a nickel blitz or something from maybe Marlowe or somebody to help that D line out. We got to get pressure, man. And the crazy thing is, right, when I was watching that Lions game, I already knew it was over from the first quarter, because we couldn't stop the run. And if we can't stop the run, it's gonna be a long game. So I had like no hope. But I just don't understand why Zach Orr isn't switching something up. You got to stop playing prevent. Like, send some kind of blitz or something. Like, we know the D-line isn't getting home. So why not change something up? You know what I mean? Maybe help them out. And then my last thing is with John Harbaugh. Like, I don't understand how he can watch film on Falele and have the confidence to sit out there and
We lost it. Bounce back. Come on, D-Rod. Bounce back. Oh, man. We lost you, brother. We lost your audio, unfortunately. You went down the Fa'alele route, and then all of a sudden the Fa'alele offensive line gods took away his connectivity. That right there is how ironic is that? Anyway, there you have it, guys. The question becomes, is this who they are? And that's what the Ravens themselves are going to have to try and answer coming up on Sunday at Arrowhead, a place that they've never won since Lamar Jackson took over as the starter in Baltimore. Guys, college football is already cooking up. Upsets, blowouts, wild covers, and MyBookie lets you hit it all. MyBookie has been sponsoring the channel so far this football season. Game lines, player props, and more. Everything you need before the pros even kick off. So when Sunday rolls around, you're already up. If you're new to MyBookie, you can use our code BobbyB. That's BOBBYB. And any bet you choose up to $500 is fully covered. You can make your play, and if it doesn't hit, you get it right back when you opt in using your bet back bonus token. MyBookie's where bettors win together because bragging's good, but cashing in is better. If you're having trouble, please go ahead, do me, yourself, your family, and those around you the favor. Pick up the phone if you're struggling and call 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-522-4700. Thanks for hanging out with me, guys, tonight on this Friday. I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Again, I will give out. Let me just show you what I'm going to give out. It's easier that way. Give me 1 second here. You guys can probably still hear me. Maybe you can or can't. Coming up on Sunday, the pregame show will start around 2 o'clock. And thanks to Charm City Spirits, baby, we are giving away one of each. You got the limited edition vodka. Again, Charm City Spirits, just created, courtesy of the Ravens. This is the straight bourbon whiskey right here. And both of these will be given away randomly to a subscriber of not my choosing, but the randomized way of choosing, coming up on Sunday. So it's the 2 o'clock start for the pregame show. And I look forward to giving you coverage with guests, analysis, predictions, and all that stuff and more coming up on Sunday. All you have to do, leave a comment with the hashtag BobbyB. What else am I going to make you do? You got to follow Charm City Spirits on Instagram, and you got to subscribe to my channel. It is literally that simple. And both of these will be given out coming up on Sunday. So look forward to that. Thanks to Preston Automotive Group for the continued support. Thanks to all of you for hanging out. If you could on the way out, like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell. And as always, thanks for hanging with me, guys. Catch up with you. We'll see if any news drops tomorrow. If it doesn't, I'll catch up with you on Sunday at 2 o'clock.